Hey Arnold has captivated fans for years, and now we've got the ultimate series recap right here. So Arnold's this daydreaming, football-headed kid who lives in a boarding house called Sunset Arms, and guess what? His grandparents Phil and Gertie own the place, but man has it seen better days. The city where all of this goes down? It's this diverse, bustling place, kind of reminiscent of Brooklyn, New York. Arnold roams around with his best bud Gerald, who's the super cool kid known for his tall tales, and then there's Helga. She's got this rather love-hate thing for Arnold. On one hand, she bullies him, but on the other, she's got this huge secret crush on him. But hey, just hear me out for a sec. You know, there's this interesting phenomenon where sometimes you think you don't like someone from a distance, but when you get closer, they aren't what you think. I myself felt this way too. I thought I once found this girl annoying, but when I got to know her, we ended up vibing really hard. So in Arnold's case, things might not be the exact same, but I do understand the weird dynamic of it all. Let me explain. This complicated love story between Helga and Arnold actually began in preschool. Growing up, Helga didn't get the attention she craved at home, so when she experienced Arnold's kindness, she was completely captivated. If only things stayed that simple. But nope. Along with her feelings for Arnold, Helga developed a knack for bullying. She'd often declare, "I'm the boss here," laying the foundation for their love-hate relationship, which honestly could give Romeo and Juliet a run for their money. Now you might be wondering if there was ever a turning point in their relationship. Well, while they were paired up for a science project, things took a wild turn. Everything spiraled into chaos, and they ended up in quite the predicament, with Helga saving Arnold from danger. Was it just gratitude that made Arnold look at Helga differently, or was there a genuine spark? It's hard to say actually, especially when Arnold was smitten with someone else at the time. And this young lady was Ruth. Arnold was head over heels for her, even crafting a special Valentine's gift. Helga, on hearing this, was far from pleased. She called Ruth a stuck-up, brace-faced sixth grader, but Helga wasn't one to sit back. With Arnold planning to ask Ruth out, Helga quickly hatched a plan. She decided to impersonate Arnold's French pen pal Cecil and set up a date with him on the exact same night he was supposed to meet Ruth. But things got super awkward when the real Cecil shows up and exposes Helga's ruse. But Arnold, being the clueless guy that he is, never realizes he was actually dating Helga. Now Helga's feelings for Arnold are so intense. She's torn between her love for him and her desire to keep it a secret. At one point, she's so overwhelmed that she wants to stop loving him. She even seeks out a potion to help her forget her feelings. She describes Arnold as this particular gentle boy with a football-shaped head. And after taking that potion, she's convinced that it actually worked. But guess what? It was just grape juice with some herbs. It wasn't magical at all. Helga realizes her love for Arnold is genuine and can't be swayed by some drink. The story wraps up in a rather funny way. Helga bumps into Arnold, and instead of confessing her feelings to him, she snaps at him just like she always does. Their dynamic is back to its usual banter, but they do have an intense bonding moment during Thanksgiving. It's pretty touching actually. Even though their Thanksgivings were a total mess, they realized something important. It's not about things being perfect, but the fact that their families were always there for them. It's kind of like a happy Thanksgiving Helga moment, you know? Now here's the interesting part. It made me wonder whether Arnold was starting to feel something for Helga. I mean, did he finally get that she's been in love with him forever? I know, right? You might think I'm reading too much into it, but think about it. Even though Helga constantly teases him, calling him football head and all those other funny names, she's also often spotted just hanging around outside his house. Maybe she's waiting for him? Who knows? Grandpa Phil even pointed it out to Arnold, saying that maybe she doesn't actually hate him. And guess what? Helga couldn't keep that love hidden for long. She's smart, you see. When there was a school play on Romeo and Juliet, she finally saw her chance. Even though she was like the fourth understudy for Juliet, she managed to, let's say, persuade all the other Juliets to drop out. She even confessed her feelings for Arnold just to get that role. Pretty crazy, right? But hey, it worked. She finally got her moment to be close to Arnold during the play without any of the strings attached. And this woman really took advantage of that. She just took her time smooching the living hell out of Arnold while everyone else just watched. Now Helga, always the hopeless romantic, seemed to think that the only way to escape her feelings for Arnold was to take a vacation. And where to? A secluded beach house with her family, far from any reminders of him. But guess who shows up? None other than Arnold himself, thanks to his grandpa's vacation plans. Talk about timing. Now Helga tries to keep her distance, warning Arnold not to get too close. But things take a twist when Arnold meets Summer, a girl who's new to the beach. She compliments his sandcastle making skills and suggests he enter the sandcastle competition. Helga, never one to back down, sees this as a challenge. She's determined to not let Summer steal Arnold away. But what no one knows is that Summer's got a hidden agenda of her own, to use Arnold's talents to win the competition and then ditch him for a shot at fame. Things really heat up, and for the first time, Arnold firmly stands up to Helga. It seems like their bond might be broken for good, but Helga discovers Summer's true intentions. She can't help but warn Arnold. Overhearing Summer's devious plans, Helga realizes she needs to intervene, and in a heartfelt moment, Helga apologizes to Arnold. Oh, and how could I forget about Helga's confession, which we saw in the first movie? So the movie started in Hillwood. While kids played and adults went about their day, Sid noticed a house being demolished. Arnold and Gerald, having lost a basketball game to 5th graders, returned to their neighborhood to find a commotion. Mr. Green revealed that Mr. Scheck, the CEO of Future Tech Industries, or FTI, planned to buy the entire neighborhood to construct a mall. Even the mayor supported this idea, forcing residents to consider relocating. Helga's father, Big Bob, collaborated with Nick Vermicelli on a store for the upcoming mall, overlooking the negative impact on the community. Arnold, determined to resist, organized Blockapalooza to unify the neighborhood against FTI, but FTI's tactics got the event shut down and Arnold's grandma was arrested. Arnold then discovered a historical event, the Tomato Incident, which, if proven, could save the neighborhood. He and Gerald went all detective mode and traced the document to FTI, but Scheck, being the villain he is, denied having it and even burned it when they found out what he did. Then, in a plot twist, Helga, disguising her voice as Deep Voice, reached out to help Arnold. And man, things got real intense. Helga confessed her feelings for Arnold. They even shared a kiss on the tower. Pretty wild, right? And then, in the climax, Big Bob confronted Vermicelli, and Scheck was exposed and arrested, ensuring the neighborhood's safety. Arnold and Helga decided to remain friends for the time being. Oh, and by the way, the creator of the series, Craig Bartlett, has stated in many interviews that Arnold and Helga actually end up together and get married. But enough about Helga. Let's talk about Arnold's best friend, Gerald. So Gerald is the legendary 4th grader we all know and love. This kid has got a vast knowledge bank, which is way beyond his age. Gerald was the storyteller of his gang, and his tales often revolved around the urban myths of Hillwood. You might wonder, how did a kid get so knowledgeable? Well, he often credited his insights to his friend Fuzzy Slippers. Now I've got to admit, I have no idea who this Fuzzy Slippers person is. They're like this offstage character that never really shows up. Gerald just mentions them now and again, making us all wonder about their true identity, but for all we know, Fuzzy could just be a regular buddy from around the block. This guy gave a cool, friendly, and relaxed vibe. But don't mistake his calm demeanor. He cares deeply for his friends. He was that one friend in the group who'd provide a reality check, especially when Arnold got overly optimistic. Speaking of pals, do you remember when Gerald and Arnold met Connie and Maria at the pool? These 6th grade girls had them totally smitten, and it was Gerald's impeccable fashion sense that had them turning heads. Too bad they didn't realize Connie and Maria's ulterior motives, which is to make their own boyfriends envious. Oh, the games that people play. But hey, at least our boys had the drip, right? But Gerald's story doesn't end there. There was this one time he wanted to taste the money-driven high life. He ventured into selling these funky watches called Wacko watches, but here's the twist. He got duped. stuck with heaps of watches and no buyers. It turned out the distributor was nothing but a con artist with a shady business in a decrepit building. His entire scheme revolved around trapping Gerald and having his parents pay up. But thanks to Arnold, they outsmarted the scammer, and Gerald managed to offload those watches. Now, if you think of Arnold, you'd imagine that after waking up to find his parents gone, he'd be a bit of a mess, but he's not. The whole credit goes to his hilarious grandparents, especially his granddad, Phil. Phil is this cheerful guy who manages the Sunset Arms boarding house. It's funny because it's always a mystery if the boarders even pay their rent. Most of them probably can't even afford their own bathroom, but back to Phil. Despite his sometimes questionable advice and goofy nature, he's an amazing grandpa. Arnold means the world to him, and anyone who doesn't adore Arnold, well, they better watch out. And here's the kicker. Phil's had a wild past. He served in World War II, and get this, he claims he took down an entire company of German troops. He even says he faced off with Hitler, or maybe it was Joseph Goebbels. I know it sounds crazy, but hey, let's let the old man have his glory moment. Oh, and did I also forget to mention that he was a champ at Chinese checkers? He even had this rivalry going on and got the nickname Steely Phil after tying in a city tournament. But there was this one time Phil got super gloomy. He believed every man in their family dies at 81. With his 81st birthday just around the corner, he started acting like it was the end. But after turning 81 and still kicking, Arnold discovered that the family curse was actually 91. So, good news, Phil still got a decade left to go. But hey, the doctor was blown away. He said Phil wasn't just healthy for his age, but he had the strength of an ox and could possibly live up to 150. Now that's something, am I right? Okay, now let's talk about Phil's better half, Gertie. She was always the life of the party, always in some quirky outfit, whipping up unique dishes and throwing around these weird but endearing nicknames. She's called Arnold Kimba and even named Helga Eleanor Roosevelt. I mean, where did she even get that from? Though she seemed a bit out there with her antics, Gertie knew when to dial it back and get serious. And if you thought Phil was tough, Gertie was on another level. This lady was a black belt, fixed subway wirings, drove bulldozers, and even had a prison escape under her belt. One day, she'd been splashing around as a mermaid, and the next, she's rocking the cowboy boots as Calamity Pookie. She was just full of surprises. Now here's the sweet bit. Phil and Gertie's love story goes way back. They were classmates during the Great Depression. Young Gertie had the biggest crush on Phil and would tease him just like Helga does with Arnold. But times were hard and Phil had to drop out to help his family. Jobs were so rare back then, but fate had its way and they ended up together. In a heartwarming twist, Phil even went back to school with Arnold and finished the 6th grade. Now back in the day, Arnold and his buddies went on some wild rides and had some pretty crazy adventures. For example, they had this weird adventure in the super spooky episode called A Haunted Train. It started off on a warm summer day with the kids enjoying their break. Arnold and Gerald were lounging on Arnold's apartment steps trying to kill their boredom. They played every game imaginable, even giving crosswords puzzles a shot. As the two pondered their next move, Grandpa Phil, ever the savior, came over with ice creams in hand. Inspired by a passing train, he shared a thrilling tale from his past. He spoke of working on the railroad and hearing legends of a haunted train. The story was set 40 years prior to when a train, driven by a mad engineer, vanished without a trace. Some believed it went straight to hell. As Phil unfolded the mystery, more neighborhood kids joined the audience. They heard of the train's eerie return every year, luring unsuspecting passengers with its blinding white light and taking them to a world of darkness. But Phil's details about the train station's location seemed oddly specific. Maybe he wanted some adventurous souls to investigate. The story ended and the crowd dispersed, but the tale had ignited a spark in Arnold and Gerald. Helga, always the skeptic, challenged the legend's authenticity, leading to a dare. They all decided to meet at the haunted train station to uncover the truth. Night fell, and the trio ventured into the abandoned train yard. Soon enough, the legendary train did appear, much to their shock. The kids, lured by the train's glow, found themselves trapped inside. A series of eerie occurrences ensued, reminiscent of Grandpa Phil's tale. But as the train halted, they realized it wasn't the underworld, but a steel mill. The creepy music? Just an engineer's accordion playing. Relieved, Arnold, Gerald, and Helga returned home where Grandpa Phil awaited. He seemed amused, hinting he might have exaggerated the story. Yet, as they drove away, the real ghost train made an appearance, leaving viewers with chills. Now, this episode, although not terrifying, had a dark aura to it. It was often aired late, leaving a lingering unease before bedtime. But it wasn't just about being scared. It explored deeper themes, leaving a lasting impression on many, including myself. I know some might brush it off, claiming not to be affected, but for many of us, it's a part of our childhood memories. But you know, it wasn't all about the laughs. The show did an amazing job touching on real-life challenges and situations. It wasn't just about the fun. They got really deep sometimes. Another one of these episodes is Miss Perfect, where a new 4th grader named Lila Sawyer joined the school, coming straight from the countryside. Helga Pataki and her crew quickly brushed her off as a simple country girl. They wanted to show her the ropes, you know. But Lila, she wasn't your average newbie. She was just as brainy as Phoebe and had a fashion sense to rival Rhonda. Heck, she even crafted her own outfit. And when she ignored Helga's advice and befriended the school's lunch lady, she got an extra dessert, making the girls green with envy. Determined to put Lila in her place, Helga and her friends plotted some pranks, but the first two, utter failures. They involved kiwi jello and some lunch foods, but each time, Helga bore the brunt of it, getting walloped by this really strong kid. But the third time was the charm. Lila was tricked into sitting at a special table, and before she knew it, she was covered in a mess of spinach and rotten fish. The whole cafeteria erupted in laughter, and poor Lila fled the scene heartbroken. The next day, Lila was noticeably absent. Helga, feeling a twinge of guilt, decided to drop off Lila's homework. She and the girls headed over to Lila's house and were taken aback by what they found. Lila's living conditions were far from ideal. She lived in a modest place with her dad, who was struggling to make ends meet after losing his wife. Eavesdropping on their conversation, the girls learned about their financial struggles. Realizing the depth of their mistake, Helga and the crew apologized to Lila. Lila, being the sweetheart she was, forgave them. She returned to school, and the girls welcomed her into their circle with open arms. Miss Perfect really pulled at our heartstrings, and even still after all these years. Looking back, it stands as a powerful lesson that we should never jump to conclusions about someone else's life. Another interesting episode was Arnold's Christmas. School was out at PS 118 for the holidays, and the kids were buzzing with excitement. Phoebe admired the city's decorations, while Helga eagerly awaited the Nancy Spumoni signature snow boots rumored to be sold out. As Arnold and Gerald discussed the essence of meaningful gifts, Helga was on a quest to find the perfect present for Arnold. At the boarding house's secret Santa, Arnold drew Mr. Huynh, who seemed melancholic every Christmas. Determined to find a heartwarming gift for Mr. Huynh, Arnold learned of his poignant past. 2 decades ago in Vietnam, Mr. Huynh had sent his daughter Mai to the United States for her safety, but had lost touch with her ever since. Arnold and Gerald tried to locate Mai through Mr. Bailey, the city archivist, in exchange for helping with his Christmas shopping. The catch? They needed the elusive Nancy Spumoni snow boots for his daughter. Helga, having received the same boots from her mom, faced a moral quandary. On Christmas morning, as the boarding house mood was subdued, a surprise awaited. Mai appeared, reuniting with her father. The orchestrator of this reunion remained a mystery, but outside, Helga, with tear-filled eyes, whispered a Merry Christmas to Arnold, hinting that she might have made it happen. Moving on, there's also this episode Chocolate Boy, which hits super hard. First, it seems like any other episode, but then you realize the entire thing is actually a shockingly dark commentary on the perils of addiction. So it all started when our Chocolate Boy made this crazy bet with Wolfgang. The deal was, if Chocolate Boy could resist eating chocolate for 2 whole weeks, he'd get a whopping 10 pounds of the stuff. To make sure he stuck to the challenge, Wolfgang had Mickey keep an eye on him. Poor Chocolate Boy. Every time when he thought about sneaking a bite, Mickey was right there to catch him. Desperate to kick his craving, Chocolate Boy sought out Arnold's help. They tried everything, from clearing out all the chocolate in his room to making him go through withdrawal. I mean, he got so desperate, he even started licking ants from the ground, thinking they tasted like chocolate. Crazy, no? Arnold was super proud when the 2 weeks were up, but then plot twist, it turned out the whole challenge was just a bet. Wolfgang gave Chocolate Boy his reward, but Arnold was bummed to discover the real motive. Things got even wilder after that. After Chocolate Boy devoured his prize, Wolfgang and his 5th grade gang showed up. They teased and humiliated him, making him do a dance in exchange for more chocolate. Feeling defeated and humiliated, Chocolate Boy had a moment of clarity when he saw his reflection, imagining himself and the police as chocolate treats. Determined to change, Chocolate Boy knocked on Arnold's door again. Even though Arnold had reservations, seeing Chocolate Boy's genuine desire to change, he agreed to help. They tried everything, from carob, which by the way Chocolate Boy was allergic to a sauna session to sweat out the cravings. Nothing seemed to work, however, but then came the breakthrough. Through hypnosis, they discovered the root of Chocolate Boy's addiction. Turns out, his beloved nanny used to secretly give him chocolate when he was a kid, going against his parents' wishes. When she had to leave him, she gifted him a bag of chocolates, telling him to stay happy. Ever since, he had been using chocolate to fill the void she left behind. Arnold helped him realize that while he missed his nanny, overloading on chocolate wasn't the answer. And guess what? Chocolate Boy finally overcame his addiction. Everyone was shocked when they saw him turn down chocolate at school, even Wolfgang. But just when Arnold thought his job was done, he noticed Chocolate Boy's new obsession, radishes. It seems some habits are hard to kick. Now I know what you all must be thinking. Where did Arnold's parents go in the first place? Well, they finally gave us this answer in the Jungle movie. So Arnold's parents, Miles and Stella Shortman, were these adrenaline junkie adventurers who were all about helping out and finding cures for diseases. Stella was deep in the jungles of San Lorenzo looking for plants that could help with jungle sickness, and that's when Miles literally stumbled into her life and the sparks flew. They started this whole adventure together, and their first mission was this temple. But the real highlight was when they were climbing San Lorenzo's tallest peak and slipped. They went downhill a waterfall and got caught in this strange net. It wasn't just any net, it was set up by the mysterious green-eyed people, the original inhabitants of San Lorenzo. To make amends for their waterfall blunder, Miles and Stella decided to help these folks get their precious relic, the Corazon, back from a treasure hunter named La Sombra. They nailed it, got the relic, and the Green Eyes were so grateful that they welcomed them into their tribe. And guess what? Miles and Stella had this epic wedding in an ancient Mayan temple. Super romantic, right? But here's where things got tricky. While they honeymooned in Brazil, the Green Eyes got sick with the sleeping sickness. Miles and Stella jumped into action, creating an antidote and saved the day. Not long after, they found out they were going to have a baby. That's our Arnold. Given the dangers of the jungle, they decided to move to Hillwood, but a year later, Eduardo, their old friend, came calling with one last mission in San Lorenzo. They left, and then they just vanished. For almost a decade, no one knew what had happened. Fast forward to the Jungle movie, and we got the answer we'd all been waiting for. Arnold discovered his parents had caught the sleeping sickness, which is like a super long sleep. And here's the crazy part. The cure, which was the Corazon, was lost again. But in a wild twist, Helga's locket ended up being a substitute for the Corazon, and it actually worked. Arnold and the other kids were reunited with their parents, who were now wide awake and well. Can you believe that? A few months later, Stella and Miles were home with Arnold, and on his first day of 6th grade, he got the reunion everyone had been hoping for. They were truly back. Now that's a happy ending. And there you have it, guys. That's Hey Arnold in a nutshell. Do hit the like button if you had as much fun as I did, and dive into our next video for more mind-blowing content.